On this week's episode, it's Raising Kids, Part 2.
Numero dos.
Oh, man. Welcome back to another episode of the Counterculture Podcast. I'm your host, Christian, along with my great friend and co-host, Taylor. What's going on, man?
Nothing much. I'm excited for this part 2. It's not like us to do a little series.
It's not, but you know what? I'm digging it. And really to get myself in the real dad mode, right? I pulled out the mustache. It's back and better than ever. It's fantastic, right? And so I guess speaking of that, I guess if you're watching this episode and you didn't catch the first part of this mini series of us talking about raising kids, go check out part 1, right? I mean, there's no spoilers, so you can just watch this one and then go back, but you're going to miss the first 4 rules in the list that we talk about.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's
go check
4
it out.
rules, but I mean, it took us a little over an hour. So it's a lot of good content.
Oh, yeah.
So if you haven't watched it, pause this, go start the first one, and then come back.
Yeah, I mean, we're milking this for as much content as we can, so it's gonna be great. But yeah, it should be good. Yeah, I mean, one thing I also want to say about it is I think even if you don't have kids, I think there's some valuable things you can pull out of that first episode that we did.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully this one, and again, I'm assuming that we're gonna do another one after this for a part 3. Yeah, no, it was very fun, and I hope you guys get a lot out of it. Again, and I said this last time, I'm going to say it again and multiple times. We're not experts. I don't pretend to be an expert on parenthood or anything like that. But when I read these rules, I thought they were really great stepping stones for what you should do when focusing on, raising great kids. And again, I think there's stuff that you can just apply to yourself too, right, to help you to be a better person. So before we jump into it again, right, make sure you like, subscribe, okay, hit the notification bell down below, share the show with your friends, okay. You can find us on Instagram at the Counterculture Cast. You can find us on Apple and Spotify if you prefer the audio version, right? You can find us on there, leave a 5-star review. And then, of course, you can go check out our merch shop on Teesprings if you want to kind of check that out. We have a lot of great T-shirts on there, which, again, we need to start wearing them on the podcast. That'd be a good idea.
Wearing them, we still got to order them.
Well, tomato.
What came first, the horse or the cart? The chicken or the egg? Basically, I'm saying we need to order some shirts.
Yeah, and we do so that we can show them off when we're doing the show.
I honestly like the merch, so I just want to start wearing it daily anyways.
Yeah, exactly. So, so do that. And like I said, down below, I think we'll try to link part 1 in the description and all that kind of stuff. So you can go check that out. So just to give a little quick intro to it, again, just to recap, I saw this post on Facebook, right? It's from Sean Whalen, who is the founder of, what I know of him. I'm sure he does other things as well as been successful in his life. But he did the clothing line called Lions Not Sheep, right? Which came about during the whole pandemic era, right? Of trying to encourage people to say, hey, look, like you need to stand up for yourselves. You need to be strong. I would say especially for men, right? It's important for you to speak up and speak out against things that are tyrannical and I think, not good. And I happen to agree with Sean in that perspective when it comes to the whole pandemic. I think we both do. I mean, we made that clear if you've listened to us in the past that everything about it was stupid and wrong. And the fact that people just took it and listened without question was honestly, it was one of the most depressing things to watch. The amount of people that were just willing to just go with whatever they were told, and still do.
Yeah.
Right. Some are still holding on desperately. Like when I see a person
witnessing the death of your nation.
Yeah. In a lot. I mean,
like just the fact that you realize how many Americans just didn't have a backbone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, America was founded on like patriotism and standing up to corruption and tyranny, all the things. And here we were faced with something that was, worldwide, and you think America would have stood up and, been the rock that the waves bash against and the hold strong for the rest of the world to see. But no, we cowtailed like all the rest.
Yep. And of course, America is, I think America is the example that people will follow in a lot of ways. If America had stood strong against all the lockdowns, everything, I think a lot of European countries would have had a lot of harder time in implementing them. But we don't want to get into that, right?
No, well, not only that, but there were several countries that were more lax than we were.
Well, that too. That too. But we want to talk about more fun stuff because that's all dumb, right? We want to talk about things that are of more value. So again, we're continuing this list against a list of 15 rules. We only got through 4 of them last time, so hopefully we can get through a few more this time. But again, we're not going to rush, so we'll see. Because again, I want to milk as much out of this as we can, right? So
he likes to milk.
No comment. So, rule 5. Let them solve their own fights. When they run to you to solve the issues, say, solve the problem and stand back.
I mean, I think it's important that you show that your kids that they have the ability and the power to control and face their own issues and adversities in life. I think it's good that you stand in their corner and that you're there for them to help catch them if and when they do fall, which they will when they fail in life. That they have not necessarily a safety net, but they know that you're going to have their back. You're going to be there to pick them up. Now, obviously, if it's something that a problem that a kid can't help on their own or something that needs adult intervention, then obviously that's different. But I mean, my kids come to me with problems all the time. Dad, we're out of toothpaste. Okay, we'll just roll it up and squeeze more out. Already tried. Okay, then figure it out. Use the other toothpaste. Oh, we don't like that flavor. All right, well, you need to brush your teeth so you can do what I said or the other one. That's just an example from the other day. But they go and they figured it out. So my son used the toothpaste that he doesn't like, that we have excess of because it's a backup because they don't like it. And he was able to brush his teeth. And he told me about it. I waited for him to figure it out, and he told me about it. He's like, Dad, I used this one. It was gross, but I did it. So smell my breath. I did it. Like, hey, sweet, I trust you. I can smell it from here. Go ahead. And he ran and got in bed. But
get out of here.
I agree with that. I think, especially when it comes to the smaller matters, but anything big, but granted, we have younger kids. So I think they need you to not only just stand back, but maybe walk the problem with them. So at least when they're younger, don't let them figure it out necessarily by themselves, but definitely don't do it for them. They do need to have that, I don't want to say self-awareness isn't the word, but they need to have that self-esteem that's built upon figuring things out for themselves. You got to let them fall and kind of learn from their own mistakes.
No, I absolutely. I think what it does is it allows them to take a sense of ownership in the actions that they take, because a good example is obviously if you have siblings, right, or multiple kids, right, they're going to argue, right, about stuff, right? And a lot of times, one of the kids, right, Lila or Eli will come to me and say, they'll be like, Lila did this or Eli did blah, blah. I said, well, you guys need to go figure it out, okay? I can't, you need to figure it out, okay? You need to solve the problem, either you need to go play with something else or whatever. You just need to figure it out, right? And
especially the no tattling thing.
Oh man, there's nothing that grinds my gears more than when they say they run up every 5 minutes, like they did this or they did that. I'm like,
But honestly, there's some things that I'm like, okay, no tattling, but thank you for telling me.
It's a hard balance. I'm like, it's like, stop doing that. But I needed to know that, so thanks. But but don't do it. Yeah, it's Have
I told you about the whole YouTube thing with my oldest?
Yes, we have had a conversation about it.
Figured out how to. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for. I know we've talked about this on the show before, but excuse me, I'm still sick.
It's the Rona.
It's the vid. Thought we weren't going to talk about that. No,
Yeah,
I
wow.
tested positive. Just kidding. I've never been tested.
Tested positive for being awesome.
No, yeah, for being a badass. No, my kid, he's sneaky, man. He was able to download YouTube to the TV, and he was watching like all these kid gamers or regular gamers, like streaming Roblox and like Minecraft and watching it. And a lot of that content, like with streamers, it's kind of hard because it's like kind of geared and targeted towards kids. But a lot of these are teenagers and they're grown ups, so they're like cussing or like being crude a lot of the time. So it's kind of really
Or
hard to
talking
censor
about
that content.
Really even worse things. Like,
Probably.
you know.
I'm trying to be generous here.
Yeah.
So we've removed that from him. So he found a different app apparently that was like the same thing, but it was all like app approved, like kid friendly, like streamers or like gameplays, and it was like called like TV Noodles or something like that.
TV noodles.
I kid you not. So he was calling it watching his noodles. And like we kind of watched it a little bit and realized like, oh, this is super like kiddie, like super like, okay, like I guess it's fine. But we were like limiting him to like just like a few minutes a day with it, because if he watches too much, then it affects his mood too, just like the YouTube was and his behavior. So we were taking it away. And I know we're going on a tangent, but I think this is important.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, he was watching some tonight. We didn't realize. And my daughter comes in because they get to have a little bit of like downtime before we put them to bed. Like after dinner, y'all are going to have quiet time. You can go paint, read a book. Y'all can play together. It's just like time to kind of wind down while me and the wife take our turns showering. We get the newborn down and ready to hurt, so they get to have their independent time. Most of the time they choose to watch watch a show together, Disney movie, whatever. Well, he chose to be selfish and is watching that. And my daughter doesn't want to watch that crap. So she's usually too nice and puts up with it, or combs her hair for 6 hours, like in her little toy vanity area, And she came in. She's like, Dad, she tattled. And she's like, Dad, Titus is watching Noodles. And so it was one of those moments I'm like, one, you're tattling, but two, thank you for telling me.
Yeah.
So I went in there, and me and the wife both went out there. And it was one of those times we had to stop and see what was on the TV again. Well, Roku doesn't really have parental controls that I found. I keep going through the settings. He had like 4 different apps downloaded, and like we were going through this Noodle app, and there was like a lot of stuff. We're like, holy crap! Like, no, delete. Like,
Yeah.
he can probably just get it back on if we're not careful. But
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, my kids.
Yeah. There is a way to do parental control on it. I saw it the other day.
I'll have to YouTube, or you have to teach
Yeah.
me, because settings is not easy. At least with like Amazon, it's super simple.
Yeah.
Like my kids can't download anything on their Amazon Fires or anything without me having to go through my email, click on it, which then opens up a web browser where I can look at it and approve it.
Yeah. I saw it the other day. I actually I could try to look at it and remember. But no, absolutely. I think right when again, I think it's most important in the dynamics with siblings. This is why I also think I think you're doing your child a disservice to not have a sibling. Now,
Yeah, that's a good
I say that I'll add the asterisk, right? If you have one child and for whatever reason you're not able to have another kid, I'm not talking about you, okay? Like, people get all bent out of shape, like, about that kind of stuff, right? So I'm just gonna put that out there, right? Like, if you cannot, right? I'm not talking about you.
Since when do you care what people think?
Well, I really don't. I don't care what they
If you chose to
think.
have
I'm just
one
saying.
kid, good for you. But typically, having more than one kid,
Having more
helps
than one child is a very healthy
children.
thing for your children.
right? Something that your kid,
It's
if it's
just-
an only
it's just-
child,
yeah.
may have to work through later on in life. Whereas younger kids with siblings, they learn those social skills, and they kind of face those battles earlier on. Not getting your way, sharing.
Well, I think
like,
it
all
goes
that-
beyond that. I think actually having multiple children actually makes you a better parent. Because what I find with people that have only one child, they are so obsessed with that child that like the child becomes the center of the universe, which is not good for the parents, and it's also actually not good for the child, in my opinion, because that's just not how the normal world operates.
Right, that's a good point. Or the fact that you kind of have to burst through a bubble, because somebody may get lucky with having a good, well-mannered kid off the bat and think that they know everything that there is about parenting because they've never experienced having a second kid or a third, because every kid is different. So you have to be flexible as a parent and how you parent. Like every kid's different. Like just like a teacher has to be flexible because every child learns differently. Well, you got to parent and discipline different children different ways as well. Like, so to your point, like I would say the people who only have one child, you may get it right the first time and be like, we've got this kid. I don't like those people because they typically try to come across as know-it-alls about how, well, we did this with little Johnny and maybe you should like.
Yeah, it's like, well, little Johnny's a shithead and I got 3 kids. So
yeah,
like not the same world,
your
bud.
Johnny is like my youngest, but try having the other two, you know? I don't know. So it makes you a more well-rounded parent, but I think it's ultimately
I think it makes the kid a more well-rounded kid, and I think it's better for them. So that's to people that have, one kid and, are or don't want to have another one, right? That's dumb. You should have another kid. You should have multiple children.
If you can.
Yeah. If you can't, like I said, like,
but stop at 2. I'm just kidding.
But again, if you can't, I'm not talking about you. So don't worry about it. But yeah, I think the more you can allow them to solve their own problems, the better off they'll be, because it helps them to be more independent, right? And it helps them with confidence, right? We always talk about self-esteem, all that kind of stuff. Self-esteem is you get that by gaining confidence in yourself, right? And the only way you can gain confidence is by having competence in your normal everyday life, right? And so, and that's like the danger of the self-esteem crap, right? Because they say, well, we have to do everything we can. It's like, no, actually you don't deserve just to be, put on any sort of pedestal or congratulated if you haven't done anything, like you have to actually do things, right? To gain self-esteem, right? And I know that's like that's a hard pill for people to swallow, and especially in this world of participation trophies and this and that, and we have to worry about people's feelings. It's like, No. At the end of the day, if you want to get better self-esteem, then you need to gain confidence, and the way you do that is by getting good at something in your life, right? That's the only way you're going to get self-esteem, and it's the only reason you should have any, right? If you aren't good at things, you shouldn't feel good about yourself to a certain extent. Like you're not, and I don't say that to be like mean or anything like that, or it's just the matter of it's an entitled mentality, right? You feel like you should have a high self-esteem. It's like, well, what are you doing with your life? Are you sitting at home doing nothing and living in your mom's basement? Or are you, trying to build the next, great tech company or whatever it is, right? Like, what are you doing with your life? Like, that's how you gain those things. It's a little bit of a tangent, but you get what I'm saying, right? So allowing them to solve their own problems will help them to build confidence and help them to build, a positive, healthy, well, they'll have healthy ways to deal with conflict, but it'll help them to be a better, well-rounded kid, right? That's what you want. You want your child to be able to be a person that can function and operate within the world in a healthy manner with the people that they're going to encounter, because they're going to encounter a lot of people in their life, right?
Yeah,
so you want to set them up to be able to do that.
In a nutshell, basically, to answer that, or to the purpose of that rule is because one day you're not going to be there for your kids. Mm-hmm. Whether it's because you're at work and they're at school, or you pass away, or they get to a point in life where you're just not there for them, or you're not there to protect them. If they've learned those lessons early on in life, then they're not going to be as timid or scared. They're not going to stress out or get anxious. They're going to know, and they're going to have the ability and the know-how to tackle that challenge.
Absolutely. So the next one, this is good. Rule 6, teach them about money, cash flow, business, and economics. School isn't. This knowledge is 100% up to you.
Well, except Florida. DeSantis is passing that rule or that act where all the state schools are going to start having money in like economic classes where they talk about debt, taxes, credit and debit cards, like stuff that, you start like kind of more thinking about taking possibly in college.
But
yeah,
is that so?
Mm-hmm. Which, power to it, because we never learned that.
No.
I was having my dad do my taxes for like a year or two even after I graduated, and every year he was like, okay, Like, I'll do it. This is the last time. And the next time he's like, well, I'll do it, but you need to watch how I do it. And then, like, still getting his help. And then one day I was just like, nope, figure it out. Here's the instructions. And there was no like TurboTax back then. Maybe there was, but it was mainly like you do the forms.
Mm-hmm.
You got to carry the number, box 13, double D or whatever. And then you got to like, and I don't know if you've ever read the like 1099 EZ, like the forms and stuff. It's like, I know it's all in English and I speak English.
And I read English.
But something's not like, I'm like,
it's not
I read all the words, but still don't know what it means. Like, so, but yeah, I mean, to that point, I don't know.
That's why I just pay someone to do my taxes for me so I don't make any mistakes.
I still use TurboTax. It's like, thank you for your 7th year in a row. And I'm like,
Yeah,
speaking of taxes, have you done yours? Well, I know your situation's different.
Yeah, so I actually gave all our stuff to my tax lady this past week, so it'll be a kind of a cluster this year because there's a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, I gave it to her.
So you set money aside all year in order to pay, I assume.
I don't have to actually because of the the deductions and everything I'm able to take. I've actually
Loopholes, people.
Well, hey. I tell her this is all the deductions, this is everything. I don't want to just do what you can. I don't care what happens. If it works, great. If not, I don't care. I'm not here to get in trouble.
Right.
So all I know is I have not had to owe, right, for the last several years. So that's been very nice.
I've never had to owe because I usually end up having them take like the max out. So I never have to owe, but usually because of that, I get like it's like, here's some of your money back, kind of thing. And it's like, you like look forward to get some.
It's like, oops, sorry. The government actually took too much of your own money. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I remember when getting like the first kid and it was like $6,000 back. I'm like, sweet, kids are great. They're, and then the second kid, I'm like, that's too dependent. And I think that one year I got like 8. And then the COVID year happened with the stimulus checks, and I didn't get like near as much.
Oh man.
Well, I thought this year would be like back to normal, right? And I know this is like a lot of TMI.
Oh,
I've got 3 kids now I claimed. You know how much I'm getting back?
Probably like $1,000.
$1,000.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe Biden.
I've been looking it up, and a lot of people on the internet, and even the IRS was coming out saying, more taxes than ever this year, lowest returns, like in historic lows and like tax returns, like it's bad.
Well, I hope you enjoy the stimulus checks, guys.
There's like a movement right now where people are actually saying like to
abolish the IRS.
Well, not just that, but they're talking about don't have do the zero where they don't take any out, pre-tax or whatever it is on your check, so you can pay it at the end, but never pay. And then that if you get in trouble, like I was seeing some kind of like TikTok stuff about it where it's talking about that the IRS, there's no law or rule that says that you owe the government or something like that. But there's a lot of people who've been screwed over by that.
The federal income tax did not exist until 1920, thanks to...
And we still had roads and schools
Woodrow
and
Wilson.
the Army.
You ever think about that? We also didn't have the Federal Reserve until then. You ever think about that?
Lots of things about.
Things that make you say, But anyway, so...
Yeah, we went on a taxes tangent.
Yeah. So we're talking about money, right? And so it is a season, right? But I think this is absolutely true. And the fact that Ron DeSantis is doing like a financial literacy basically in schools is brilliant because, again, this is stuff that, again, you are not going to learn. So like everything I've learned about money up to this point was not learned in high school or college or anything. Okay, it was actually stuff I learned from wealthy people. They taught me these things. They said, no, you got to do this. No, you need to do this. You need to do this. Right? These principles, right, that they live by, right? And so, for me, when a guy is telling me something, right, and he's worth over $100 million, which this is true, right, I'm going to listen to him because it's like he probably knows what he's talking about, Yeah,
it's like that guy who like always like asks the cars and coffee people when they're leaving, like, what do you do for a living? Like,
yeah.
Forget his name, but and they're always like, I do this. This is how I got started. This is how I made my money. I'm like, some of the stories are interesting.
Oh yeah.
The other side to that is there's a on TikTok where I get all my information. I'm just gonna say online because everybody knows this is where I get my stuff, anyways. There's like part of my algorithm, I guess, is it's like wealthy people coming on, and they're like, if I had to do it all over again and start at $0 right now, today, this is how I would make my next million. And they're like, I would get into this, I would do this, like, and it's interesting because they're like, some of it's like, yeah, I could see it. Some of it's like, that sounds too good to be true. But to your point, I mean, what would the rich people do if they started with zero today, you know?
Right. And that's just the thing. Like, you know, when it comes to, this is anything in life, whether it's relationships, right, or business, finance, whatever. If someone's telling you something and they have what you want, whether it's they make a lot of money or they're like, you should listen to what they say because that's probably a good thing. Like we're actually really fortunate that Eli's godparents are both two of the smartest and, you know, and savviest people when it comes to money, right? You know, they're both younger than 45 and are worth multi-millions, right? So they are they're very, whenever they talk I listen because like it's foolish not to. And so, but I think this is an important thing because financial literacy is something that a lot of people struggle with. They don't understand money. They don't understand how it works. You know, because it's simple things like, you know, we're led to believe that credit cards and credit and all this kind of stuff is actually really bad. But when you talk to some of the wealthiest people around, they buy everything on credit. They don't actually use their own money, right? It's like, well, why is that, right? Because they talk about like, well, number one, credit cards are the most secure way to purchase things because if you get your credit card stolen, whatever, right, and it gets racked up, it's like, well, it's not my money, right? And if you prove fraud, it's like, you're like off the hook,
Yeah.
you know. And that's how wealthy people operate. You know, they don't use debit cards. They use credit cards, right? And they use credit to buy things, right? And they whether it's real estate and all these kind of things, they use these things to leverage, right? To make more money, right? And to gain assets for themselves, right? And so I think what's important about this rule is, you know, because I think a lot of people, because the average person is an employee, right? And so, you know, they don't necessarily have to learn about that kind of stuff. I think it's incumbent upon you to, even if you're not, you know, an entrepreneur, right, with your own business, you should learn about these things, right? It'll help you because there's things that you can do even as if you're like a W-2 employee, right? Not only with whether it's you know, putting stuff in your 401k, but then also doing things like Roth IRAs or other investments outside of that and putting your money in places so it can actually grow, you can gain wealth, right, to pass on to your children, right? But teaching them that kind of stuff early, right? Like, I think there's value to a certain extent for a lesson wise with kids with actual physical dollars and coins, right? Because, you know, for a lot of them, or for kids, when they see you swiping the card all the time or everything, that doesn't make sense in their brain because with all they can see is this card. You give it to wherever it is, and it pays for it, but they don't understand that there's a limitation on that, right?
That's
if they have
a modern problem,
right? And so if they have they have a $5 bill.
Do you have cash on you right now?
Do I have cash on me right now? No, because I don't carry cash.
Really?
No, I don't.
See, rarely do I have cash. Like, and it's
I
just
never
one of
do
those
anymore.
things, like, you should always carry some small denomination of cash for just, I don't know, emergencies, but I don't. And if I do, I typically hold on to it for a while. And when I finally break it, it's gone. It's done.
Yeah.
But my kids have a little bit because my parents will like give the kids like money when they see them or this or that. And to that effect you're talking about, it's just, I guess it's the older generation that still kind of knows better, but they're trying to teach that responsibility and that importance of money. Like, my father got my son a wallet for Christmas. Is one of his gifts, and I knew it was coming. He called me about it and was talking about it. I'm like, that's a great idea, and something he wanted to do, and he wanted to sit down and have a teaching moment, and I didn't mind. I'm like, yeah, go, Grandpa, you know. And my son still keeps everything in his little Velcro Fortnite wallet, including his little V-Bucks like gift cards.
Yeah.
But he's got some coins in there. He's got his ones, and I think he's got like a 5 and like a 20 even in there. Like he like holds on to it, and then he takes his ones out if he knows he's going ice cream for school at lunch that day, because ice creams are $1. Exactly, like I don't know, it's just the way it works. Like no tax, the kid just hands $1, gets an ice cream. So if he wants it, then he brings one of his own dollars. He doesn't really use the money we put on the school card or whatever. He brings his own for that. So if he wants ice cream for that day, he pulls it out of his wallet, he takes it to school, and he knows that's how he's got to use it. So I'm like,
But see, that's good because it helps them understand the value of money, right? Like that
it comes from somewhere, and there's a limit.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. Like there's a limit, right? So you have to choose, right? It's like, you walk into Target, right, with them, or Walmart, wherever, right? They have a $5 bill, a $10 bill. It's like, there's value in them. You could say, yeah, you can go pick stuff, right? And they go out and everything, and then they bring it to the register, and you tell them you don't have enough money for that.
Well,
so now we have to figure this out. What do you really want, right? What do you want more? What's more important to you, right?
We had a situation with that with Titus for a while back, where he went in a new game and he had $20 at home, and he knew he wanted to spend his $20, and we were going to loan him the money because we knew it was at home. I'm like, sure, I'll take that 20 when we get home. Don't think you're going to get the game and somehow parents will forget. Like, no, I'm going to take that 20.
I don't forget about money.
Well, the game
kid.
he really wanted, it wasn't some clearance like Sonic game or something that was like, oh, look, these are $20. He knew what he wanted, and it was the Mario Kart game. Well, the newest Mario Kart for the Switch is $60.
Mm-hmm.
And he really wanted it. And I'm a parent who, if it's within my wheelhouse, I will really try to give my kids everything. I want to spoil them, but I also want to raise them right. So yes, I want to spoil the crap out of them. What's $60? Like I'll figure it out. It's just $60. We'll eat out one less this month, instead of going out.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have been a big deal, but we decided to tell him no and tell him, hey, you don't have enough for this. You have 20. This is 60. You don't he's pretty good at math. He's like, they're like $40 short. Well, I'll just pay 20 and you can pay the rest. Like, nope.
Wheeling and dealing over here.
Yeah, he's trying, man. I'm telling you, he's super smart. And I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. You can go get something else for your $20 or get one of these lesser games. Or if you really want the Mario Kart, you're going to have to wait and continue to save up. He was a little bummed about it, pouted for like 5 to 10 minutes, but they knew he was over it. And the next time we go back, instead of it being like we caved in and we gave him his way, like it's going to be like hey, how much money do you have now? Have you grandma and grandpa given you any more? Because I'm not necessarily just handing out money. Again, we just said I don't carry cash.
Yeah.
But it could be like an IOU, I guess. Like, I'll figure something out. I'll just start Venmoing him, But anyway, he'll build up, and then we can be like, hey, how much do you have now? Oh, you have 35. You're almost there.
Yeah.
Maybe for your birthday that's coming up, you'll get this much, and then we can go get that game. I don't know. But to the point is, it's
no,
teaching
and you know what? That's great. That's great because it also teaches them patience, right? It's not instant gratification, right? It's delayed gratification, right? And what's funny is when he works it up and he's able to grab the game,
it's more
take his cash to the register and say, I bought this, right? There's more value to it, right?
Yeah.
There's more of an ownership to it, right? Which, again, may seem like a small thing, but it's little things like that helps them to really get that together. And so, one thing I was gonna say is, like, for a parent, if you're a parent and you're like, man, I don't have a good situation or handle my money situation, or I don't really understand money. Well, you need to go learn. There are, especially nowadays, TikTok, YouTube, books. There are countless resources for you to get better with money. So on one aspect, you should get better with money because you should take care of yourself and your family. But on the other hand, it will help you to then teach your kids how to be better. Because the best thing you can do is give your kids all the knowledge you can to put them in the position to have a better life than you did, right? Yeah. And that's something that I really took a lot of value from my dad. My dad grew up in Mexico, right? Very low income, right? They moved to the United States, right? They didn't make a lot of money, right? He was able to go to college, right? Pay his way through college, all that kind of stuff. And I remember he told me this when I was really young, and it's always stuck with me. He said, I worked hard, right? And this is before
you don't have to.
Yeah, he's like, I worked hard so you could have a better life than I had, right? and that always stuck with me, you know. And I think that's the thing I think every parent, especially every father, thinks about. It's like, I want my kids to grow up with a better standard of living, right, or better life than I did, right, or at least as good of a life that I had, you know. And so, you know, and that's the thing for me. Like I you know, like I consider myself very fortunate, right? My parents worked very hard, right? We had a good life, right? They were a solid we were a solid middle class family, right? We took vacations every couple of years, and sometimes they were even, you know, kind of big vacations, right? Like, you know, my parents took us to Disney World a couple of times, or this or that, right?
Oh, you upper middle class.
I don't know about that, but you know, they were able to do things, and I've always thought, like, I want to be able to at least provide that for my kids. If not, if for me, really, it's about better, right? I want to make sure that, you know, if they're in sports or, you know, dance or whatever, that I can put the money in if they're really passionate about it, they really want to do it. Like, I can, do what?
Interpretive dance.
I don't know. Well, I mean, if it's Lila, sure. But we can, that was, you know, towards Lila, not the boys, but you know, I want to be able to provide the whatever resources necessary to allow them to pursue that. If that's something that they really truly want to pursue, right? Like, you know, Eli falls in love with whatever, you know, baseball, soccer, whatever, that, you know, if he wants to get, you know, a private coach, whatever, right? That costs money to do that, right? So you got to be able to make the money to do those kind of things.
Does it really?
It does. They don't do it for free, you know, especially the good ones. They really don't do it for free, right?
Right.
You know, like, I think about, like, my uncle, who, like, he invested a ton of time and money in my cousins, right? And two of them played college baseball, right? One of them's currently at Alabama, and a good shot that he could end up in the MLB, right? And he paid like private coaches. He spent a lot of time. They traveled all over the place, right? And he made good money. And that's how he was able to provide that, right? Like, one of his, I remember this because we were hanging out with him. Like, one of his hitting coaches was like a former White Sox player, right? Like, it's that's what you do, right? And of course, that's paying off now, right? With, again, playing in a Division I baseball. It doesn't
always pay off, though, people.
Well, is every story going to be your kid goes to play Division I college? No, but
unfortunately, I think our generation grew up thinking that anybody could be a pro basketball player.
Well, that's what goes back to the well, it's two things. It's the participation trophy, but then we put so much our culturally, we put a lot of importance on these figures, sports figures.
Yeah,
right? We paid them a lot of money.
Yeah,
right. So the kid wants to do that. Now, granted, nowadays though, kids want to be YouTubers or streamers, right? Because they're making a lot of money too, right? But it's the same effect.
Yeah.
Right. And you're not going to have that because in that aspect, you're not going to be, you know, because gaming does take skill, right? And so there's some people you're just not going to be as good at some point, you know, and also personality, right? Like, for streamers, like, you're not going to have their personality. You're not going to be able to do those things, whatever, right? And so that is the reality. And now you shouldn't, like, crush your kid's dreams. Like, if he wants to go to the MLB or be an astronaut, like, you shouldn't tell your kid you can't do that. Like, I don't think that's appropriate. But it's about telling them that's possible as long as you're willing to do what it takes.
Put in the hard work.
Yeah. If you're willing to do what it takes, it is possible. It's not guaranteed, but it is possible.
Well, like, on that note too, with, I don't know, like, setting your kids up, and I don't know, it's like, you don't want to crush their dreams. You need to like prop them up, but at the same time, kind of be the realist. You know, try to figure out what they're good at, but also don't push them. Like, if your kids are good at sports, don't just push them and do all the private coaching and everything else just because they're good at it. Because a lot of these kids can get burned out, and then they lose that talent because they just don't care anymore. So I think as a parent, we got to figure out not only what the kid wants, but also kind of what they're good at, and then try to navigate through that.
Because you don't want to be stuck in a situation where
I know I have family friends who are like that.
You want it so bad
they
because
did the club teams.
You live through your kid and you make their life miserable. Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing the club teams. They did the travel where they're on the like the Little League World Series. Kind of
like
stuff.
travel teams.
Yeah,
and stuff,
and it's like, and now guess what? That kid doesn't want to play ball anymore. Mm-hmm. When it's finally coming time to, like, college, and, like, guess who doesn't want to play?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so you don't want to push them to the point. You still want it to be like their idea. But like
they should be excited about going to see their hitting coach. They should be excited about that. Like if they're not excited about it,
the moment that you're the only one pushing for it, you should just back off them and wait for them to come back. But don't keep. I guess they're going to resent you for it in the long run.
Yeah, it certainly is a careful balance in doing that. Like because if you're wanting it for your kid more than they want it, it's not there, right? It's not there for them, and you got to move on or at least back off. Be like, look, if it's not that important to you, like maybe you still like playing baseball or whatever.
Try
so
soccer in between or something. Like I don't know.
Yeah, so yeah, it's definitely a careful balance, right? Because you don't want to be in that situation.
To be a YouTube streamer because it's all popular. Let them try for 6 months or something and has one person watching, which is mom in the next room, and then it's like, all right, are you ready to try baseball again? Because you're actually good,
Yeah. So it's just like I said, it's about a careful balance. Speaking
of careful balance, I mean, you brought up the fact that your parents wanted more for you than what they had. And I think that's an important thing to give to your children, but you can't always just give them that. They've got to realize that they can't always have just the good stuff. You know what I'm saying? You want better for your kids, but there's things in life that they got to realize that it's not always going to be like this. Like let your children see when times are tough. Don't always just hide the hard times. I think my parents tried to hide when things got tough or tight for us, or like, oh, we want to go out to eat, and like it's okay. I think as a child growing up, looking back, I think it's okay to be honest with your kids and realize that, hey, because we did this, now we can't do this. Because we went to Disney, because we want to give you these things that I never had growing up, for example, then now, we're gonna be eating at home for a while,
Mm-hmm.
We're maybe doing peanut butter and jelly for school lunches because, we're not gonna be doing all this extra stuff. But again, I think those are more like the callous building life lessons that they're gonna pay off for in the long run. Because ultimately, I don't think you want to spoil your kids so much just because you were trying to give them so much more of what you didn't have growing up that they become spoiled. You don't like the trust fund kid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think because again, I think it's just letting your kids know that the limitations in a healthy way, because there's limitations for everything. Like whether you make $100,000 a year, $1 million a year or $10 million a year, right? Like each one of those has limitations, right? That they meet, right? And now the limitations are higher, right? For the average person, like what limitations does someone that makes that much money make? Well,
you know what the sad reality is
ours.
too? $100K now is like middle income now.
Depending on where you live, it's certainly right in the middle. Some places it's still better than average.
Yeah.
Because I would say in Texas, like you can live a decent life at like $60,000 a year. Like things you can't do a lot of stuff, but you can like.
If you pick and choose in a responsible manner, then yeah, I think you can make.
Yeah, well, I guess to your point though, I think that's right, because like the typical household is 2 incomes, right? So if you have 2 people making 60-70 grand a year, right, together, they're gonna be right. You're living comfortable. Now, granted, you need both incomes to live. All right, so that's also one thing.
Yeah.
That's where the 2 income thing can be kind of a trap a little bit, because your lifestyle is depending on 2 of them. One goes, you're in a lot of trouble, right? But
and I mean that's just the other thing too. You can't live like beyond your means. So I think.
Oh yeah,
That's another thing. Like with the rule is teaching your kids like responsibility and good money habits. We always want, and this is something I've had to like work with too, is just because you start making more money doesn't mean you need to
spend more money.
Just because you're like paycheck, just because you come up here doesn't mean you need to raise the bar up to like here. You kind of enjoy that bump, enjoy that flexibility and spending, enjoy that freedom, do something with it. Because honestly, that extra that I'm not hurting for this is where you can start making positive investments if you're like looking on where you do your money. Roth's 401, creating that generational wealth that you can try to pass down, life insurance, things like that you can start putting into in case the worst happens. But honestly, the biggie is like if you're really trying to make any kind of like, if you're trying to make something of yourself in this day and age, you honestly have to make investments, especially getting something into like real estate, turning some properties around, Airbnbs, that kind of thing. I mean, if you can somehow pull enough assets together and be responsible enough and be patient enough to wait for the right opportunity, you can get that first piece of property. And then once you pay enough of that down, you can get a line of credit out or a lien against that one. I don't know the terminology, but basically you take out a second loan once that one's paid off enough, or that one's making money. So then your income's up higher. So then your credit limit is bigger. So you can take a second property. Now you're living at one and you're renting two. That's how you start to stack it. But if you get a second property and you're getting that Airbnb money, or you have tenants there, or even if you sell it, if you spend it all, or if you're taking that extra residual income that you're getting from that property, and you're like, you go and buy like a nice new Mercedes with it, you haven't changed your position in life. You just have nicer things.
Well, you just have more things that you owe.
Yes.
Right, with your higher income, so it makes no difference. No, absolutely, and that's where, yeah, I mean, living at at or below your means is so crucial. I mean, partially because it's about, again, it creates self-discipline, but also like it makes your life a hell of a lot less stressful, right? Which
Yeah, you don't
again,
need that
I'd
extra strain
rather
on a marriage.
I would much rather just say I can't spend those. I can't afford to do those things, and just have the money in my account than to just splurge and do all these things, right, and be stressed out all the time.
Stress about how you're going to pay your next bill.
For me, I don't say this. I'm not saying this to brag. For me, I'm very grateful for this. Is that to be in a place where we're not worried about like our bills being paid every month, right? Is really great. Now with the income we have, I mean, could I spend a lot more than we do? Yeah, I could easily. I could do. I mean, I was just showing you a pair of Nikes I wanted before we got on, right, and a lot of other stuff I wanted. And I could go buy those things, right? And would it make that much of a difference? No, but at the same time,
It'd make a difference in that style of yours.
Yeah, it would. But I'm like, do I need it though? It's like I don't really need it.
I'll get them first, then you'll be like, all right, I'm getting.
Yeah, probably. But that's the one thing that's been a problem with the increase of income is like sneakers.
Yeah, it really
sneakers is. But again, you feel, because it's like, oh man, I haven't been able to do these things before. Now I want to, and it's like, and with one area that I feel that in a lot is actually taking the family out to eat.
It's expensive.
It is.
I can't go out to eat for like less than $70 for the family now.
If we, depending on where we go, typically we don't get alcohol.
Oh, see, I guess that's the difference. If I'm going out, then like I'm gonna enjoy myself with the wife.
No, and again, I'm not saying this to like give you a hard time or get anyone. I just say for me. No, because
say what you really mean.
No, I'm really not. It's. I mean, I always tell people like you got to do what you're gonna do with your own money. But I'm like, because I look at it, I'm like, I mean, I could either spend $40, right, and we'll all be satisfied like food wise. It's like
it is cheaper to drink at home.
It is much cheaper to drink at home.
But I don't make margaritas at home.
Right. Well, where I will get like a cocktail, or whatever, is if I'm going out on a date with Christina. Yeah. Then I will. But if we're going out with the kids, I'm like, I don't need it. I'm fine.
I respect you for that.
Like I said,
I am a lesser man. No. Me and the wife, dude. If we're going out margaritas, wherever, we go maybe once a month at least to an Italian place just down the road. And believe it or not, they have really good margaritas at the Italian place. So I'm like, you gotta.
Well, just so y'all know, it's Texas, right? So I mean, there's margaritas everywhere.
Every place.
There's margaritas everywhere. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
There's a fish place near me called Captain Brad's.
I heard that place is pretty good.
They got good margaritas, and it's seafood. So I mean, you get what I'm saying. But yeah, dude, it gets expensive, especially because
you know what place I have a beef with here?
What's that?
It's it's that Mexican restaurant next to Los Cucos.
Vita Mariscos.
Yeah, terrible. Terrible.
Yes and no.
Terrible.
One that you're talking about is terrible. My first experience with that place was over in Katy, and that is the place to go.
Okay. The one here, terrible.
Well, I used to go with buddies at work.
We tried
on
it.
like a Friday at lunch and get a margarita, because at that point you're not gonna be productive for the rest of the day anyways. They bring out the pickled like carrots and all that at the beginning with your bread. Like it's good. I'd been a couple times and I was talking it up to the wife, So I decided to take her on a date.
You were talking it up. So I told Vale talks about this place. Like, we got to try it. I
took Brittany to the one right by y'all's place, which is just down from me.
Yeah. Terrible.
I had to keep apologizing. I'm like, it's usually much better than this. Maybe it's a bad night, blah, blah, blah. We've never went but the one time. I've been sent to the one by my work a few times, but yeah, I think that place is just
one
trash.
here, it's trash, dude. It's totally trashy. But you know what's funny? It's okay. We just go to Lupe instead. Best, dude.
Lupe is expensive.
Dude, but
so good.
Have you gone there for brunch though?
No, you've brought this up though.
Go on a Saturday or Sunday for brunch. Number one, not very expensive to be honest, like relatively, and so good. I think I'm gonna take the family to brunch.
I'm not
this
a big
weekend.
Breakfast person. Going out and paying for breakfast.
I'm a big
unless it's
guy.
Brunch.
See, well, Mexican brunch. Here's the thing, right? Like
I'm even good with white people brunch.
What about black people brunch? Are you
because
okay?
White people brunch.
Oh, hold on. It's Black History Month. Are you okay with black people brunch?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I think so. What? I'm just kidding. I was about to say something, but yes,
I am Black History. No, dude. Like at Lupe, they have this where they have it's like a cheese enchilada, but then they like with an egg, right? So I order. So that's what I would get. They have like the hash brown.
There's just a bunch of people with leftover enchiladas from the night before, and like, how can we market towards the white people?
I don't care.
They're like, ooh,
I get a cheese enchilada.
We're gonna crack an egg on it, and we brunch.
Okay, hold on. Cheese enchilada, over easy egg. Okay, with the potatoes, right, and then they have like the beans. Oof, delicious.
Dude, I'm like white people brunch. Like 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock, doesn't matter. You go over there. In the Vintage, they have, I think it's the Egg and I. It's
another broken egg. Dude, that place is so expensive.
It is, but it's good.
So,
I mean, you're sitting outside. It's a nice day. You get a little corned beef and hash, and you get like a little blackberry margarita. Something that you wouldn't typically order anybody, but it's brunch.
See, so this is why millennial white people are the worst. This is why.
We are.
Brunch. White people brunch, to be specific.
But see, I only ever get it if I'm like doing like meeting the wife for like a doctor's appointment or something. Ooh, it's like middle of the day.
Brunch.
I'm kind of like not at work, but I'm at work. It's like
let's go for a brunch date.
Because brunch is not something you do with your kids.
Mm-mm. Brunch is an adult. Well, I say that, but we take our kids to the Lupo. Mexican. Okay, here's this should be rule number 16 actually. Mexican restaurants are your friend as a parent.
Yeah, they're so loud and chaotic.
Yeah,
so good for parents.
So your kid's screaming. It's like, everyone else is screaming.
Everybody's drinking margaritas. It's all good.
Yeah. we got so derailed on that.
We're at an hour. This is it.
Oh man. Okay. So oh man. So the next one. Okay, here we're going with this. So we've done
3,
2. Oh my god. 2 good ones. Okay, this one's gonna be short though. Rule 7 is get them a dog.
I think pets is good for children.
I think we can say pets. I think that's okay.
I mean, this guy Rip Van Winkle, whatever his name is, I bet he was thinking dogs, man's best friend. But I think pets in general is okay to say for this rule, as it teaches them responsibility. It teaches them companionship. It teaches them like compassion in a way. Like somebody that may have never have had a pet growing up, maybe they don't have the heartstrings that get tugged on when they see an animal in need or something. I'm not saying, they see a Sarah McLachlan commercial and they just like, like pick up the phone and have to call right then. You don't need that, but like it makes you a better human being when you have compassion and stuff for other species, especially less than you. And I'm kind of an animal person. My wife, like, I think she gets joy in like chasing the cat with like the spray bottle when it's like even looking at getting on the counter or something. She's probably listening in the other room right now.
She's like,
But like it should be like, that's not fair to say. I'm an animal person. I'm like, you and me, we're two different animal people. But no, I mean, my daughter wanted a cat for the longest time, and my wife for years has told me she wants a cat. And I said, no, we got a dog. Now we have 2 dogs. Now we went back to 1. And we finally got my parents got my daughter a cat for Christmas, but we knew it was coming,
Yeah.
And suddenly my wife was like, no, I didn't want this cat. I never wanted a cat. But the kids,
I never
my
said I
daughter
wanted this.
feeds it twice a day. She may forget, but I have to like remind her. That cat sleeps with her and like super, like they play together all the time. So there's just a lot of things that I think as a kid you get out of it.
Yeah. You know what's funny is Lila's the same way with Bear. Like,
Really?
Lila's absolutely the closest member
Some
of the family.
little girls, I think it's
Yeah.
really important for them. Like my son could really care less about
Eli likes Bear. He kind of Eli will get rough with him, so he kind of like Bear doesn't get rough with him, but kind of he'll kind of push him around, and so like Eli kind of gets all upset or whatever. I'm like, well, you're messing with the dog. The dog's gonna mess with you back. I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
But no, I think it's good. I think it gives him a level of responsibility, and I think it also allows him to see a microcosm of life.
Well, especially
because
depending on the animal, life and death, for sure.
That's exactly right. Like when Bear passes away, right? The kids will be towards the tail end of high school, right? And that's gonna be a tough, big tough moment for them when he passes away, but it'll be important. It will be, because even for me, like my 2 dogs I had growing up have both, have gone to greener pastures.
My dog is like 14, the one I got in college.
I know.
I had family dogs growing up too.
Jack is still holding on.
He's
still
mean as
holding.
ever.
He is mean. He's a mean son of a bitch.
I've almost taken him out to the backyard a few times myself because I'm just done.
Just old Yeller him. Just fucking.
Look at the flowers. Look at the flowers.
Man, those movies are rough. If you didn't cry in Where the Red Fern Grows or Old Yeller, you have no soul.
Yeah, those movies.
Those tear jerkers, man.
They're rough.
I remember we were reading that book. What was it? 5th grade, I think it was for us. Man, there wasn't a dry eye in the classroom, man.
Yeah,
I gotta tell you what. Oh, man.
That's good to your point too, because the kids can learn from that too. But when they can relate that story to their own animal at home, and when it finally happens, it's more real to compared to someone who just read a
It's
book.
reality, right? I mean, life as you go on, life is going to be full of tragedy, of death, and I think it's a way to show them that without it being as traumatic as a lot of those things can be.
Yeah.
Still tough, still very hard, right? Everyone loves, the animal.
I'll
right,
give my parents two little accolades growing up. One, I was in the 5th grade, and me and a couple classmates thought it'd be cute to take staples and fold them in half to like diamond shaped and clip them on our ears to make it look like we had earrings. Teachers allowed it. I'll make the story quick. Teachers allowed it, and it was fine. It was kind of cute. There was like 3 or 4 of us doing it. It became a problem whenever we were taking turns raising our hand and asking to go to the restroom. And all we were doing was making sure, looking in the mirror in 5th grade, that it looked right. I think it was 5th grade or 3rd grade. One of the two. 5th grade. Was making sure that it looked right. That it didn't go crooked. It was still in the middle of your earlobe, whatever. So it eventually got out of control. Parents got called. Parents came, picked me up at the end of the day and was like, hey, what are you doing this for? Like, do you like that? Do you want your ears pierced? And I was kind of like, I don't know. And they're like, because if you want it, we'll go to the mall right now and get it pierced. So I kind of just looked at my brother who would get picked up too and is a grade younger. And I was like, okay. And so like, okay. So I don't know if I called their bluff or they were just that like open and chill. We drove to the Willowbrook Mall that evening, went all the way to not Claire's, but it was the other store.
I was going to ask you, were you sitting in the little high top
I was.
chair at Claire's?
But it wasn't Claire's. It was the other store that was supposed to be more teenagery. It's called Icing.
Oh,
which
I
was
remember
by
that
Claire's.
place. Yes.
Dude, I was in the freaking, pretty sure it was either 3rd or 5th grade, one of the two. And got my ear pierced right in there. Had to pick it out. So to this day, I can still put earrings, and I showed my kids the other day how I could put it through. I'm like, see, mommy's not the only one. But it was just the one ear, it's the left ear, because the other one was, back then, we used the word gay, and that's what we meant, but if you put it in the right only, that, it sends a different message. But you know what that did? As a parent, it showed your kid that you were cool and you were willing to be open-minded and listen. But as a parent, it also showed, like, I'm about to toughen my kid up, whether they realize it or not. Because I had to go through the next several grades explaining that to, like, other kids, getting called gay, getting told it was the wrong ear and that I was gay, and like all this kind of, and it toughened me up. And honestly, like, it kind of made me I guess, rebel. Was it? I guess I was. So one, my parents did that. So kudos to them, but also, like, did you know what you were doing? And two is, we used to beg them and beg them. We'd beg to go to the pet stores, like between 3rd and 5th grade.
Oh yeah, pet fair. Yeah.
We want ferrets. We want this. So eventually we'd convinced my parents to get me and my brother rats. Not mice, not hamsters. Somehow, I don't know if it's the rats that we wanted or rats were what they said that they would just get us. But honestly, rats were better than mice because mice just suck and they're small. But rats are smart. And they're not as gross as like a sewer rat, like a water. Like a pet rat is like very clean. Think Harry Potter. But not the, I'm really a dude watching you change all the time and I'm murderous. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Scabbers?
Yes.
Okay, anyways.
I know.
Okay, you were like...
What did you say?
Scabbers.
Well, his name was Peter Pettigrew, but,
yeah, he went by...
semantics.
But the point is, Peter Pettigrew was in the form of a rat all those years, watching Ron change, bathe, shower, who knows? The dude was secretly a pervert. We're not going to talk about that, but that little Harry Potter lore for you. But anyways, me and my brother begged him for rats, and one day they ended up getting us pet rats.
That's so weird,
dude. So yeah, we used to play video games. The rat would chill on my shoulder. They would let them run around and play. Super clean animals. But things about rats is they don't live that long. Super smart, super intelligent. They would be able to jump to get to higher things. You could call them and they'd come up on you. Super cool. But they don't live that long. My brothers got cancer and died first.
Oh my God.
Got like a big old tumor to the point where it grew like up on their side, and it was like it would drag the tumor kind of thing, and eventually died. My brothers went first. Mine lived for like at least another year. Got one as well, and then I think it was middle school, kind of around this point, and mine ended up eventually dying as well. But it was sad. So to your point, like, your parents know better because the parents wouldn't be like, no, this is a bad idea. You're going to be sad. It's not going to work, or I'm going to have to take care of it because you say you want it, but you don't know the responsibility it truly takes. So there's a lot of decisions to weigh as a parent. But to your point, I think that life and death element, like, especially when it's something that's more shorter term, it's a good way to kind of explain that this world's not all sunshine and rainbows and life's not fair.
Well, life, it's not even about, is it? Life is finite, right? It is, it does come to an end, right? None of us can escape that, and it can help them to understand that, and I think that's good in the sense where it can allow them to appreciate each day more. And when you have an attitude of gratitude with every day that you have, you live your life differently. Mm-hmm. You look at life differently because if you had, when you try to have that approach, even if you have a really shitty day, right, you can still find things that are good about it, right? And you can, right? You can sit and wallow in whatever bad thing happened to you that day, right? Or you can say, what good did I get out of this day? Or what can I learn from this day and take that knowledge going forward, right? But the only way you can do that is to be grateful, right? And one of the greatest things you can help your kid have is that sort of outlook on life of being grateful, right? And being appreciative of everything they have in their life, right? Because they should be, to a certain. We should be grateful for the things we have, right? Like for like, I'll say this, like, Christina is really great. I didn't, I didn't ask her to do this, whatever. But whenever we go out to eat, right, she tells the kids, you need to say thank you for dinner.
Yeah.
To help,
but
it helps the kids know.
You?
Yeah.
Like, as thank you, Dad, for dinner.
Yeah.
Or thank you, like, I guess, Mom and Dad.
Yeah,
I'm
like
trying
so
to
you
say.
need to say
Yeah.
she'll say you need to tell dad thank you for dinner, right? And it's not because I need the pat on the back from my 5-year-old and 3-year-old for paying for dinner. I was gonna do it anyway.
But
It's
it kinda
about
teaches them not
teaching
to
them.
expect it.
It's about teaching them to be grateful and be thankful for the things that they have. Because when
unfortunately, they'll start to take it for granted. They'll start to think that this is normal.
Absolutely. Well, they take it for granted and they say, well, this is what I should just get. It's like, well, no,
Yeah.
you don't deserve that, right? Because there have been times where we say,
Oh, we're eating at home tonight. Oh, why aren't we going out?
well, it's not even that. It's, we'll tell them we'll go to church, right? We'll go to mass on Saturday or Sunday or whatever, and say if you're good, we'll go out to eat afterwards, right?
And they just expect it now.
And if they're not good, right? And they're like, oh, where are we going? And we're not going anywhere. You guys are not good. We're going home.
And that sucks because as a parent,
It does suck because
you're punishing yourself. Too.
Yes, you are, but you have a choice there. You can either be selfish, right, and say, well, this is what I want, so I don't give a crap, or you can think about your child,
Yeah.
and say, but if I keep to my word, number one, right?
Honestly, you
and
really
teach
only
them
have to
this
do it one
lesson.
time.
Yeah, they'll
Stick
get
to
it.
your guns one time, and then they'll realize, oh, this doesn't play.
Yeah,
Like he
they'll
says.
realize they're mucking with a G. You get what I'm saying, right? Like they'll realize, oh, okay, like because they have to realize consequences. If they don't realize consequences, they're not gonna ever take you seriously, right? And so when your kid's telling you, and I think I said this last time, but when your kid's telling you "F you" at 16, right?
Or 4.
Or well, he didn't say "F you." He just said
I know,
what the F
but I'm
is
just saying
this.
it. If he's going down a bad road in a bad house, it could be FUG. Instead of just what the is this?
Oh man, so you don't want that, right? You don't want that. So, oh man, we got really derailed on this one, but
Bear with us.
we got it.
This
We
series
will
continue.
It is going to continue. But again, we like to stick to around the hour mark, and that's where we are. So especially when I just read the next one, I don't want to be quick about it, right? So
That's fair.
we got through 3. We'll do more next time.
But hey,
I was about to say,
don't
I
get all weird
promise.
about it now because
No.
you were like, I'm not worried about rushing.
I'm not worried about rushing. We'll try to do more next time. But I was gonna say I was gonna say I promise, but that's a lie. So I'm not gonna promise anything. So, but again, I think there were some valuable things, right? And
I
again,
would
there's I did say we're gonna milk this for all that we can. So
Yeah, you
there
did.
you go. So
You're a man of your word.
I am a man of my word. That is true. Thank you.
I didn't think it was going to be as bad as just 3 questions, but
Me neither, but we got into some tangents. So, but anyway, so part 3 will continue next week. All right. Make sure you follow us, the Counterculture Cast, on Instagram. Like, subscribe, share the show with your friends. You can find us on Apple, Spotify. Leave us a 5-star review if you prefer the podcast. Okay, and we'll see you next week.
later.
Later.